there is a large section of the community that would rather see these weapon types be locked to their respective class, so Recon would be the only class to access sniper rifles, instead of being available for everyone. And the second camp are people who don't really mind this current setup. For me, I'm leaning more on the latter, but with a few more tweaks thrown in. A new wave of information for Battlefield 6 has been released, this time involving the class-based systems that many fans have been asking for since its brief departure in Battlefield 2042. While we are getting our character classes back with Assault, Engineer, Support, and Recon, the current plan will allow all classes to choose from any weapon type, which includes the dreaded support character using a sniper rifle on the edge of the map with infinite ammo. To combat this, these signature weapons will have a passive perk to encourage players to use them with their proper roles. The example they give is with giving the Recon class a longer time to hold their breath and line up shots with a sniper rifle, whereas any other class it won't be as long. And I can imagine other perks for different classes, such as support characters having a 10% faster reload speeds with LMGs, engineers having faster weapon swap speeds with SMGs, and so on. But that is just speculation. I will go deeper into this topic later on, but there are a few other things to go over in this announcement. And while we are swapping topics, if you're enjoying this discussion, consider giving this video a like and subscribing to the channel. Don't forget to get involved as well by leaving a comment. Each class in Battlefield will have something called signature traits. These are passive perks that can give each class an added edge that benefits their role and the team around them. However, some of these traits may need to be reworked. The example provided in their announcement, Recon players will automatically spot enemies while aiming down sights. With Battlefield, on top of marking enemies on your minimap, there is a 3D ping system, where when you ping an enemy, a marker is placed above their head and follows them in real time. This is a feature I never really liked in Battlefield games. I don't mind 3D spotting, but it should be delayed and it should expire the moment you lose line of sight. Not only that, but 3D spotting has always been something of an unintentional exploit in the game. With Battlefield 4, you could still ping enemies while they're concealed behind smoke, and you would still be able to see the real-time ping through the smoke, which gave everyone a soft hack to fire at enemies they can't really see without certain weapon attachments like a magnified or FLIR style optic. I do hope DICE reconsiders this perk in particular with the Recon class. If you're using a sniper rifle with a high zoom optic, you don't really need the added help of auto-pinging any enemy that ends up on your line of sight. This perk in particular doesn't have to go away though. If they rework it so the auto-ping happens while staring at the target for 3 seconds, that can work. Everything else that's problematic comes down to making the ping system function properly, such as not being able to auto-ping players who are behind a wall, or are inside smoke and other soft cover. I should not be able to look around and randomly ping several enemies who are playing in concealed cover. I should have to actively be able to see them and manually ping them myself. Again, the ping system is always very gamey in Battlefield, but at least this way it's more manual and less likely to have entire squads lit up throughout the entire match. It was a refreshing experience playing Delta Force for the little time that I did, where players couldn't get pinged most of the time. If the maps for Delta Force were a lot less linear, it could have opened up a lot of stealth opportunities to get around players and wreak havoc without the entire team really knowing about it. That is still a possibility in Battlefield, just a lot less likely because of how their ping system usually works. And I'm not saying that Delta Force is entirely better. I have an entire video talking about what Battlefield should not copy from Delta Force, so go ahead and watch that once you're done with this video. Some good news that comes from this announcement are the specialized gadgets. As we would hope, certain gadgets will be limited to their own class. That should mean we won't see a Recon player with an ammo box and other hybrid combinations like that. If your team is being bombarded by vehicles, you don't get to just equip a rocket launcher as a medic, someone will have to go engineer and deal with them. Alright, going back to specialized weapons, there's 2 camps for this. There is a large section of the community that would rather see these weapon types be locked to their respective class, so Recon would be the only class to access sniper rifles, instead of being available for everyone. And the second camp are people who don't really mind this current setup. For me, I'm leaning more on the latter, but with a few more tweaks thrown in. As stated before, there will be passive perks for when the proper class is using their specialized weapons. Automatically, these weapons will be a little less effective for any other class. I would go a step further and make it so you gain less XP or weapon XP when you use these weapons with a different class. For instance, if you normally get 100 XP per kill, you'll get 75 XP per kill when using a specialized weapon on the wrong class. This would encourage players to do this later on as part of an endgame. It's already a detriment to equip them in the first place, but just in case it's not enough, which it probably won't be if people are going to lean into the few meta weapons that outclass everything else, make it so it will take longer to max level them when used in a different class. Normally, I default to using the medic class, but there have been plenty of times I'd swap over and play other classes to unlock new weapons, attachments, and complete missions. While it can be a little annoying to swap to a role you don't like using, it's not the end of the world and it can pose as a small challenge to players to try out something new. While locking these specialized weapons to their proper class would be the best option to do this, I don't think it needs to happen. Between including a few more cons to deter players from doing this in the first place, and having portal mode where we can create our own rules, this should not be anywhere near as bad as what Battlefield 2042 was. Along with this, there will still be universal weapon types that every class has access to, such as DMRs, carbines, and shotguns. The game will have weapon crafting to some degree, which can open the door to making any weapon work fairly similar to these specialized weapons. So yes, we will still have support players using long-range DMR weapons with infinite ammo. There should be a lot more focus on overall weapon balance and having a few standout weapons of each weapon type that can be converted to serve as a hybrid version of each specialized weapon. That was a mouthful, but basically there should be a couple of DMRs that can be converted to have nearly as much effective range as a standard sniper rifle. There should also be a few carbines that can be converted to a close combat machine, and so on. I have a personal affinity for hybrid weapons that aren't always effective, such as the UMP-45 SMG. It usually has a sluggish rate of fire, but hits harder than the average SMG. While it's not great for close-up fights, it's usually a nice weapon to have for mid-range gunfights. And many people, including myself, really like the Honey Badger rifle with an integrated suppressor and 300 blackout rounds. Hard-hitting and quiet, but with more recoil and a smaller damage range than the typical rifle. I do agree, there should be downsides to using a specialized weapon in a different class. I don't think locking them to a specific class is going to make that big of a difference in the long run. I believe any real problems that comes from this will be from weapon balance. With the class-specific perks this game is offering, no weapon should be so good it outclasses everything else, even without the passive perks being active. I know I'm not on the popular side of this argument, and I rarely am at this point, but let me know what you guys think so far about the class system and what you prefer to see in Battlefield 6 in the comments below. One thing that we can all agree on is every game should have more active anti-cheat solutions. Activision recently showed off a new AI review system that is reviewing in-game replays to catch cheaters faster. Check out my video going over it and just how effective it may be. Thank you for getting this far. Like and share the video and consider subscribing to the channel. It really helps me out. Until then, I am Mr. Rain, and I'll see you next time.